Welcome back to MJ Fangirl TV. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, welcome back to Club 30s with MJ Fangirl. Are you a Michael Jackson fan that has taken the moonwalk for granted? Did you grow up having already seen the moonwalk and never experienced it for the first time? Well, you might not know the true impact of the moonwalk and the night where Michael debuted it to the world and shot into superstardom. Today, we're going to be talking about Motown 25, the moment where Michael Jackson became the king of pop. Arguably, this was one of the pivotal moments in Michael Jackson's career, and I thought we'd talk about it. Let's talk about 4 things you might not have known about Motown 25. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. You are now watching MJ Fangirl TV. Girl, you got to know. We can touch the sky You guys, I've taken the moonwalk for granted very often in my fandom. I have my notes over here, so don't mind me. I want to be more organized when I come to you guys with videos, so I'm making that little change. So for years, I had no idea like what the moonwalk meant to pop culture. Just putting it out there. I was born in 1987, grew up with Michael Jackson playing constantly in my household. My dad is a fan as well. And to be honest with you, I never knew what the big deal was. I grew up during I would say the dangerous era, right? The early 90s into the history era, and which was in 95 and on. And to me, like all of what Michael Jackson did was cool. And the moonwalk didn't really stand out to me one way or the other. Um, and my fandom, to be honest, it started way before YouTube, right? So I really didn't have the input of others or the benefit of having a huge historical library of what Michael Jackson had done throughout his career available to me. And I think that was part of the appeal, to be honest with you. Things weren't as easily available and readily available. So I always wanted to discover more, and I was craving that. And trying to find VHSs and trying to find like DVDs and whatnot before YouTube. And one of those DVDs was the History to DVD, History on Film. And I constantly watched that DVD, not only because it had little known music videos, little known to me at the time, like They Don't Care About Us and Stranger in Moscow, but it also contained a moment that was forever in history, forever a part of Michael Jackson history, and that's Motown 25 when he performed Billie Jean. And it's funny because I would often I'd watch it, but then sometimes I'd get bored. I'd skip over and I'll be like, what's the big deal with this one big performance? And I said, I don't understand what's so important about this. This is nothing special. And I said that one day to my dad while I was skipping through the DVDs. Why do they have this specific performance on here? This is like nothing special. He's like, nothing special. He's like, that's Motown 25. That's what started it all. So on this anniversary of Motown 25, yesterday, today, and forever, I want to share with you guys a few things because that caused me to dig deeper. What was Motown 25 all about? Motown 25, yesterday, today, and forever. And here is a list of some of the things that I discovered. Number one was the significance of Motown records, you guys. We all know as Michael Jackson fans that the Jackson 5 started at Motown, but you might not know about Motown overall and its cultural impact and the significance that it had and why the Motown 25 TV special was such a big deal. And so Motown Records was one of the first Black record labels that had crossover success and appeal to the mass audience, white audiences, as well as Black, as well as people from all backgrounds. And and they had this success not only on the radio, but also on the Billboard charts. Motown birth acts like Diana Ross and the Supremes, of course, the Jackson 5, the Temptations, the Four Tops, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, Ashford and Simpson, I believe. And so, yeah, they had almost 80 records, you guys, in the top 10 of the Billboard 100 between 1960 and 1969, which was a huge deal. And they had a unique sound, you guys. It was said by Suzanne DePass, which you guys know was Berry Gordy's longtime assistant. And I know that she did a lot of other stuff at Motown, not quite sure what her exact title and role were. Um, but she said that Motown was not just pioneering a sound, but a cultural dynamic. And the Jackson 5 rather, were a huge part of that, right? They had that crossover success, and it was a big deal. I mean, Motown came not too long after like so many different issues and civil rights fights, and a lot of things were going on in America at the time, and Motown and the music of Motown artists helped to bring people together. And yeah, I think that was the significance of it. People were watching, not only Black audiences, but people all over the world were watching, all over America. I don't know about all over the world, but people were watching to see on this 25th anniversary what the groups were like. It was just a big celebration of Motown's 25 years in business. And yeah, a lot of the groups were out, current groups, older groups that saw their success there. And it was a really good, like, coming together moment. And of course, it premiered on national television. So this was huge. Number two, Michael did not want to do this show. Yes, you guys. The moment that changed the trajectory of his career, in my opinion, and so many others' opinions, Michael did not want to do. I think one of the reasons that it's been said that he did not want to do it was because he just wasn't a big fan of television at the time. And I'm going to read an actual quote from Michael from his autobiography, Moonwalk, where he shares more about how he made the decision to actually appear on the show. I said no to the idea at first. I thought about how much Berry Gordy had done for me in the group, but I told my managers in Motown that I didn't want to go on TV. My whole attitude towards TV is fairly negative. So after speaking with Berry Gordy, who visited Michael at a studio session to discuss it, Michael decided, all right, why not? He decided to appear, and he had just one stipulation for everyone. He told Berry Gordy, hey, I am willing to do this show, but I need my own solo spot. And he was granted that wish. He actually was able to get his own solo spot and perform the only non-Motown song of the entire show, which was Billie Jean. And of course, he performed with his brothers first, the Jacksons medley, including Jermaine and Randy as well. And that was actually the first time that the original band members had all performed together since 1975. So that was a big deal. People were excited about it, but didn't know what they were going to see when it comes to Michael. And here's the third thing that I found out, very interesting information about Motown 25 and Michael's performance. He actually did not want the Billie Jean part to be broadcast. He only wanted that performance for the studio audience only. You guys, let me repeat that. Did you know that the performance of Billie Jean was almost not broadcast to the masses on television? So, got this bit of information from Ebony Magazine, a 2014 issue. An article called Suzanne DePass Looks Back on Motown 25, providing the source in case you guys want to look that up. Suzanne DePass says, and now I'm seeing here in my notes, says she was the executive producer for the show and the creative assistant to Berry Gordy at Motown for many years, like I had mentioned. Michael had asked for it not to be included in the show. Ebony says, of course, Michael Jackson performing Billie Jean and doing the moonwalk for the first time became the highlight of the show. Suzanne DePass says, a letter came by messenger during rehearsals saying we were forbidden to tape Billie Jean. The real reason was that Michael wanted to do it for the people in the theater, but he didn't want it on the broadcast. I went to Michael and said, are you serious? I'll tell you what, we will tape it and you come to the editing room. And if you don't like it, we won't use it. Luckily, he not only liked it, he loved it. His manager later told me that performance helped sell 4 million more copies of Thriller. Well, you guys, me, MJ Fangirl, and I'm sure all of you guys out there are grateful that we and the 47 million viewers across America watching live that evening did get to see it. Now, the last, and I think most important and really like most interesting piece to me was that Michael initially was disappointed in this performance. But one compliment turned the entire feeling that he had about that performance, initially being disappointed and not being happy with the way it turned out, that all changed when he got a special call from a certain someone. Michael Jackson writes in his autobiography, Moonwalk, I just remember opening my eyes at the end of the thing and seeing the sea of people standing up applauding. And I felt so many conflicting emotions. I knew I had done my best and felt good, so good. But at the same time, I felt really disappointed in myself. I had planned to do one really long spin and to stop on my toes, suspended for a moment. But I didn't stay on my toes as long as I wanted. I did the spin and I landed on one toe. I wanted to stay there and just freeze there, but it didn't work quite as I'd planned. But you guys, so that's his initial thoughts. But the next day, supposedly, the legendary Fred Astaire gave him a call and told him that he was one hell of a mover. And the rest is history. Michael said that that was the greatest compliment he had ever received in his life. And after that, he was able to meet with Astaire, Gene Kelly, and Hermes Pan at separate times, trading dance moves. Michael, of course, taught them the moonwalk, and he said this on his meeting with those dance greats. It was a fantastic experience, that show, because I felt I had been inducted into a informal fraternity of dancers, and I felt so honored because they were the people that I most admired in the world. Very, very cool. Last fun fact, Michael was also nominated for an Emmy Award for this performance in 1983. He went up against other nominees like comedian Richard Pryor for his performance as the host of Motown 25, Carol Burnett, and Luciani Pavarotti. I don't know if I said that right. Michael didn't win Outstanding Individual Performance in a Variety or Music Program that night. The winner was actually Leontine Price in Live from Lincoln Center. But you guys, it's so amazing to look back and to look at these moments in Michael Jackson history in context. I will never know the thrill or the excitement of watching the moonwalk for the first time. Many of you guys have, right? Many of you guys are in a generation before me or a bit older than me and remember this literally happened before I was born. So um, I just wanted to shine some light on that night. Millions of people who had never really seen Michael Jackson perform were able to see him that night. And one last thing I want to say, Motown 25 was a huge deal. And the Jackson 5, and I think this is fair to say, although they did have crossover appeal, they were very beloved in the Black community for sure. And I feel like a lot of the Black community kept up with Michael Jackson, was aware of like what he was doing with Off the Wall and with the Thriller album and everything like that. But as a larger scale, Michael was really able to reach a larger audience than he had before with this show. And so I just thought it was a genius move on Michael's part. He had the forethought to like use that opportunity that was presented to him in a way in which he was able to propel himself into superstardom. I'm sure he didn't anticipate that happening, but who knows, you know? Michael Jackson was definitely like someone that I think, or I seem to think, believed in the power of manifestation, writing things down, verbalizing them, putting them out into the universe and putting in the work towards watching it happen. So I'm going to end this with a quote from Michael Jackson, also from his autobiography, Moonwalk. If you don't have that, make sure you get it. It is linked in my Amazon store, which is always in the description of this video. I'm forced to admit I had to be talked into doing it. I'm glad I did because the show eventually produced some of the happiest and proudest moments of my life. Michael Jackson. You know what, guys? I'm glad he did it too. Thank you guys so much for watching. And before I get out of here, I cannot stop this video without telling you guys about the Patreon. If you guys want to continue the conversation about Michael Jackson, if you're a Michael Jackson fan that loves to chat about your favorite songs, to dissect interviews and travel to events, but you're tired of doing it alone, well, don't fear, Club 30s is here. Club 30s is where we uncover the greatest moments in Michael Jackson's career and chat all things King of Pop. Join our community over on Patreon, Club 30s with MJFANGIRL, for weekly polls, exclusive content, and live streams, as well as access to our private group chats. where you can interact with fellow Michael Jackson fans in real time. And the best part, it helps to support our show so we can continue to create amazing content about the greatest entertainer of all time. Visit patreon.com/MJFangirl, and I will see you in the group chat. All right, now I'm out of here. See you guys next time. Bye.